So hello and welcome to another episode of Good Fat Life. And I always say I'm so excited, and I hate it when people say they're so excited about blah, but that's the truth. I don't know how to say it differently. My guest today is Kathleen London from London Beauty. She's got a store in Brighton and then a store and spa in Ann Arbor, which is lovely. I had a spa treatment this past week, and it was lovely. I was like, no, you can't be done. Not yet. So Kathleen, and yes. Kathleen also just got done with a fantastic event that I don't know, what would you say? How would you describe your role in this event?
It was really just, I was the dreamer, I think. You
had the vision.
Yeah, I was the dreamer, and I seem to do that a lot. I think if you're a small business owner, you're a dreamer anyhow, right? Because you have...
That's a great way to put it. You are.
Yeah.
You have to be.
You have to be. You have a vision. You have something you want to see. You have something you want to project. I don't know that that's true for all small business owners. I think everyone has their own reasons for stepping into that entrepreneurial field. But for me, I think I've always been a bit of a dreamer and had the dream of this little business, of my little business for years and years and years, and finally was like, okay, if not now, when? If not me, who? So for me, I think I've just always been a dreamer. And so this particular event, which was called Destination Stars Hollow, was something that had been percolating in my thoughts for years. And I think I finally got the streetscape in Brighton was finished, the pandemic and everything was kind of like heading into the rear view mirror. And so it seemed like a good time. And so all the pieces kind of started to fall into place. So, yeah.
So for those of you who don't know where Stars Hollow is or what it is, because I didn't.
Right.
It is the set of the Gilmore Girls.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
It's the town they live in.
Yeah, it's the main town. So Gilmore Girls was a TV show that came out of like a family-friendly initiative in the early 2000s through, I think it was the CW and some other networks. Now it's with the WB, but I believe it was CW at the time. And they wanted more shows that highlighted community and family and relationships in a really positive way. So this show kind of came out of that. And it is the story of a 32-year-old mom who had gotten pregnant at 16, which doesn't sound friendly at all, but it is. And she has her 16-year-old daughter now. And it's her kind of reintegrating back with her parents who live in Hartford, Connecticut, which is the town over from this kind of fictitious Stars Hollow. And it's her life and all the characters in this small town that kind of help her in her life and in love and in just her kind of fun madness. So it's a really fun show with multi-generational family dynamics, and it's lovely.
Well, and the I guess the other parts that resonate. So I started watching it, right? Because I was gonna do some volunteer work at your at the event, but it doesn't ask anything of you.
It asks nothing.
It's quirky,
yep,
and it's fun, and and you just feel good after you watch it.
It's like chicken noodle soup. Like it feels really good. A lot of people start watching it again in the fall. Like they do rewatches in the fall because a lot of the shows revolve around like crispy fall weather, and of course it's filmed in Burbank, so they have the obligatory like tiny scarf to show that it's fall, so they don't sweat and die on set. But I didn't watch it when it was on. I wasn't watching classic TV at that time. Like I had a life and a schedule that didn't allow me, and we didn't have all the streaming.
Well, and it was once a week.
It was once a week. So it has 7 seasons with 22 episodes a season. It was a hardcore original like family. They call it a dramedy, like a comedy, but also with a little bit of drama. It was real. So the the founders of the show, or the writers, the creative direction was Amy Sherman Palladino and Daniel Palladino. They're a couple. They wrote and have produced tons of stuff, including most recently The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Oh, I didn't realize that, because I love that
show. So that
is
is very
right?
much their style, of this kind of fast-talking, super witty, smart banter. And it was really just, it's lovely to watch. It's nothing horrible really happens, although there is light dramedy, like a drama here and there. But it's really great. And it takes place in this small town. And I think having also grown up in a small town, even though my career took me to the big city, it was something I always thought about, that, your hometown, I don't care where it is in the United States, right? We all have those, I think people want to watch this show because it makes them feel like home. It's a show that makes you feel like home. You get to know these characters. It's the same characters in every episode, and it just feels homey. And your hometown, wherever you are, your main street, your little shopping district, whatever it is, that's your Stars Hollow. That's your home. And if you come down and as a business owner, I'm sitting there every day. I love talking to people. I love people. So when people come into my store, I'm a character in their play. And they're a character in mine. And I think if you go up and down a street, that's what you get. And so I started looking up and down, in particular in Brighton, and thinking, wow, all these characters exist here. I could identify them. So then last year, a woman who works for me and I sat down and made a map. If this store could be this, and this store would be that, and this store would be this character, and this store would be this character. And so we made a fictitious map of what actual stores in town would be what from the show. And then I hosted it was actually a birthday party for myself, just Gilmore themed in my store. And it was a test balloon. We just did it. And then people were like, well, are these other stores doing it? That would be so cool. We want to do that. So then I met a young woman who I had reached out to because I'd heard she was a Gilmore fan. And I'm not really a fan of anything. I don't paint my face at a football game or, collect things. I'm not a super fan. And I think a lot of people misunderstand the Gilmore fan base in that way. There are a lot of people who watch this show like me who just enjoy it and see it out in the world as archetypical. So she had kind of that same vibe. We're not going to go to Comic-Con to meet the actors. We're not going to, we wanted to just pretend
create something
for a day,
Brighton,
right? That you're in that town. Come with your sister, mother, friend, grandmother, and walk around and pretend for one day that you're in this little town. And so that's kind of where it started. And she and I got together with another woman on my team, and we, her name is Laura Boot, and the woman who kind of started it with me is in California, and her name is Amelia Bird. And we just all three started sitting down and talking about okay, if we take this map and these identities, what do we do? How do we get people on board? Because people are I've never watched this. This is crazy. Why would anyone come to an event about this
I never
show?
said that.
No,
So,
but I'm saying a lot of people
we just didn't know.
Yeah,
Right.
you didn't know, but
Right.
a lot of people took it to that.
Right.
Why would anybody do that? It seems so cuckoo, right? It does. It sounds why? Why would they come to Brighton? How does this work? And then we gave them homework. We really spoon-fed them their identities and said, please believe us, this will work. So once we got to a density of about, 10 to 12 retailers who were buying into it and saying, well, I guess, if it's going to be a shopping night, a ladies' night, sure, why not? So that was kind of the goal, was to turn eventing on its ear, flip it upside down and say, you don't have to have tents and vendors on Main Street to block us as small businesses. Come and explore all these small businesses dressed up like these characters in Stars Hollow. And so that's what we did. And we ended up with 41 businesses. We ended up with between 30 and 40,000 people coming.
Which is just insane.
Insane
Brighton
madness.
Population net is 8,000.
Yeah, max. Max. So it was really wild. It escalated really quickly. The young woman who was working on it with me here in town, Laura, She is a micro influencer in the area. So she has like a TikTok and an Instagram, and she's also a mortgage and loan officer for a local company here that her mom owns and is very invested in town. And she, was posting and doing stuff. And then we got picked up, our general post got picked up by like a fan page. And then it just was off to the races from there.
So, but you had people flew in for this.
Yeah.
I mean, the hotels were sold out, the restaurants were sold out, and there were restaurants that just ran out of food.
Yeah.
Right? It was amazing. And I'll just say, as a volunteer who never really watched the show, it wasn't although I did watch a few, right? The week before, so I could
A little homework.
have a little homework, right? The part that just and part of the reason we're having this conversation, and I promise, we will get to fall fashion and cosmetics and skincare and all of that. We will. But the part that just really had me in tears a dozen times was hearing the stories of people that were there. They watched the show with their mother, with their sister, with their grandmother, with their brother, with their aunt, with their daughter, and they came together. And there were people that hadn't seen each other in years or hadn't had it was a girls' weekend. It was, and it just meant so much to them to be together. And what this event did is it gave them that excuse to say, let's go.
Yeah.
And let's just be together.
Let's be together. But I think to tie it into your kind of fall theme kind of vibes is that because the show is so watched in the fall, I also think that people realized like no one was unclear that this whole opportunity was not only to do the Stars Hollow thing and this Gilmore kind of, expression. We kind of called it like inspired by, right? Was to highlight small business because as fall comes, like everybody loves fall clothing. Everybody loves like the little jackets and the crispy little looks and I think everyone just wanted to, for a minute, right, feel that feel. And there's so much to fall. And I think fall is family,
it's
back
renewal,
to school,
and
all the things. It's think about Thanksgiving is coming, and it's that there's something just really homey about fall. You're starting to make soup. You're starting to like maybe have a fire. You wear cozy sweaters. You bust out bolder colors. Orange is a thing and red, and the trees are changing. Like there's something about fall, and I think there's something about the show that kind of taps into family and fall and fashion. People still talk about the fashion in the show, even though it's early 2000s. People are still talking about that fashion that Lauren Graham wore as Lorelai. So it really is.
They're not talking about the food.
No, the food is ridiculous, as we know. Yes, that is not good fat life
it's not
on
good fat
any
life.
level. It's just garbage. No one in any universe should be eating like that, and everyone makes jokes about it.
Right.
Like, on no planet.
That's part of the fun of it.
It's part of the fun because it feels so like in your dreams when you're just hanging out with your girlfriends, you are eating Pop-Tarts or
Twinkies,
right? Or you're
M&Ms.
sitting watching movies and just eating junk food and having a great time and living this life. And I think that's what's so great about it. And it introduced a lot of people, not only to Brighton, but to this idea of you can have this any day of the week. You can come back and have this in 2 weeks, right?
Right.
You can come back to Brighton any day of the week. And guess what? I'm still here. The shop owner down the street is still here. We're all still here, and we are just as much fun
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now. And actually probably more fun because we're not so like freaked out and tired, right? But everyone in line was so kind and patient and just excited to be with their friends. And it goes to show that we need community as a society.
Right.
We need it. We're starved.
We're hungry for it. Right.
Yeah, we're hungry for it because so many of the events feel, what's the word, done, like repetitious. Like they feel like they're a formula. Like, oh, we're going to have a music night. Okay. And then we put these vendor booths up and we play this music and you eat in these restaurants and then you go home because you bought crafty candles from Sally the vendor and, you got a hot dog from Joe, the hot dog guy, and listen to some cool music and you go home. It like feels very done. Contrived and done. Like it's a formula and it works. There's nothing wrong. I'm not even knocking. I'm just saying, like, I think what happened was people realized, like, there is a new way to connect with people. Like we can find these things in our life that bring us together. And, the thing I'm noticing even in my business, which is the beauty business, that there was a lot of change. It was a very dynamic business, the cosmetic industry, skincare and cosmetic for the past 10, 15 years. Lots of innovation, lots was going on, lots of science. But I'm also noticing a lot of businesses closing. And I think
the beauty industry
and brands closing their doors and shuttering because there was just such a density of it. And there had to be uniqueness. And some of these things came into being, I think, to create a point of difference and then go away and get absorbed into something else. Or it became that thing that, well, we've always done this now, right? It feels like we've always had those things. So I think we're seeing kind of a return to quiet luxury. We're seeing a return to high touch in like facials and massage and people recognizing how important touch is, communication, how important it is to connect with your family. We couldn't for a while. How important it is to see your girlfriend or your sister tribe or whatever it is, or your guy friends or whatever the case may be, to have those moments. And I think we were away from them for so long. And so this event, I think, highlighted that for people. And so now they're like, oh, we could
gave an excuse.
Yeah, and we could come back here and do this for a weekend. That would be fun because it doesn't have to be expensive. Right? It doesn't have to be epic. It doesn't have to be Europe or Hawaii or, Fiji. It can be literally date night in your hometown. Right.
As you're talking, it's reminding me, I go yarn shows to Vogue Live in Manhattan every year. And but it's a reason. So we see over and over and over people coming together and they're spending 2 nights in the city with their friends, and they do it every year because they can. Yeah. And it's just fun to have the hangout time and yes, they do buy yarn, and yes, they do get inspired and all of those things. But actually that's part of it.
Of course.
It's not, you don't want to, you can just go stare at the wall and getting together. That's fine too. But there's something wonderful about being inspired by others. And so even like you said with the shops, going to the shops, there's a lot of wonderful shops in Brighton.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
And it's easy if you live here to just drive by.
Yeah.
Because you're busy, you're doing stuff.
Sure.
But to stop and say, oh, we're just going to kind of leisurely go and we're going to get inspired and we're going to have hangout time.
Yeah.
And we need to do that.
Yeah. And people were standing in lines with each other waiting to get into the stores where there were like photo opportunities and little fun things to do. And these lines were like Epcot level lines, long. Like we were like, gosh, we need Disney fast passes or something, right, to get in. And we kind of were we were running around with our hair on fire, but every once in a while I'd like be cranking through a line and I'd overhear something I'd have to cut through or wiggle my way through a door or something. And it would be 2 people who'd never met before yapping about the show, where they were from, who was with them, why they were there, what their favorite episode was. Like people making connections about something they had kind of a common love of. So it was cool. It was really cool to see and to realize that I think other towns should do it. I think other communities should they don't have to copy us. Pick something else. It could be knitting. It could be Harry Potter. It could be, because it's not about like selling a ticket or getting the actor to come or,
Yeah, actually, I think that would take away.
I agree.
That would be, because that's not what it's about.
No. And honestly, like if Lauren Graham decided to surprise us and show up, I'd be thrilled to meet her. Like as a human person, I think her body of work is amazing. But I want to be Lorelai for the day. Like I want to pretend to be these characters. I don't want to see. It's like breaking the fourth wall, right? In art and theater, you don't want to break the fourth wall. You want to be in kind of the magic and the fairy dust. And I think you could do this with any idea. It could be a winter wonderland for holiday. It could be, an ice festival. It could be whatever it is. I don't care. Pick a theme. But if everybody's rowing together, and this is what we learn, right? If everyone's rowing together, and we got 41 businesses by hook or crook, and let me tell you, it was hook or crook with a lot of these businesses because we were underestimated and naysayed through the whole thing. But everybody rowing together, everybody like, okay, I'll get the hay bale to put outside my door. Okay, you're telling me to do, okay. And, so everyone kind of begrudgingly like got in the boat and rowed. And by the end, everyone was furiously rowing because I think they were like, oh my gosh, the tsunami is coming at us. If we don't all row together, we're going to tip over. So I think it was this amazing moment in time where you saw this like building kinetic energy that then was coming at the town. And, even the city up until the end was very like, well, are you really going to, well, we at some point, the city manager, who's one of the only people who knew the show, was like, this is going to be big. And she kept saying it, this is going to be big. But like no one around us believed us except her. She was the only one. And then they, whatever. It was a very funny thing to be so kind of wildly underestimated except by like two other people. So yeah, we were kind of chuckling that like literally the city manager kept going around being like, no, I think it's big. I think we need to close the street. No, I really believe them. Because a lot of times, and I know this even for events in my store, you get a lot of interest, right? The Facebook, I'm interested, thumbs up.
All right.
But then like the actual people coming is 10% of that maybe, right?
Yeah, you just don't know.
You don't know, but usually the rule of thumb is like 10%. If you have 30,000 people interested, 3,000 might come. And that would have been a great number for us. We were like, cool. But what happened was we took it over to Eventbrite and kind of did a free ticket because people were asking us about hotels and other things. So we did a free ticket so we could communicate. It was all about communicating. And that's where we saw the real numbers. Because if people found out they couldn't come, they'd ditch their ticket. So we were seeing like actual real traction on those tickets. And then at the end, when the locals found out about it because the sign went up or TikTok kind of blew up at the end with it, that's when the locals found out about it. And that's when they were the ones that just showed up and put it over the edge because they were like, well, it's a downtown event. Cool, we're going to go. Little did they know, right?
Yeah.
That we already had more density than we knew what to do with.
Right. But I just two things I think are so important is we all have our own stars hollow.
We do.
Right?
Absolutely.
And be mindful of that.
Yeah.
Get to know your shop owners.
Yeah.
Because yes.
Get to know your neighbor.
Right.
Let's
your
just
neighbor,
start with your neighbor.
Well,
right?
I know my neighbors really well.
But
how
many
amazing.
people don't know their neighbors, right? Or maybe it's changed a few times and you kind of know them like, hey, but you don't know them. Like, get to know them and then come to your downtown, not just for a drink or for dinner, but like walk into a shop you've never walked into before.
Right.
Explore something that you've never explored before because there's so much in these towns. Like you look across the United States at cutie little towns when you travel and you think, oh, I could move here. This is really cute. Look at this cute little store, right?
And it's always, but there's that thing like it's always better somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But we've got a lot here in Brighton. We really do.
Yeah.
And the other thing I thought was just so kind of in your face was the desire to connect. You give people a reason to gather and they will.
Yep.
A reason that resonates with them to gather and they will. Yep. They'll show up.
I think it's not even that it resonates. It has to be authentic.
Okay. So we're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah, but
they
I
have
think
to feel it.
They have to feel it. And I say authentic because having been in retail for as many years as I was, like years
Well,
ago.
you were in Manhattan
Yes.
too, weren't you? Yeah.
And years ago, there was this whole like cause marketing kind of buzzy word that was being thrown around. And if you just would throw an event and say, come for a free cocktail and our proceeds tonight will go to X and like come hang out. That was a big thing, right? And it helped fundraise and it did a lot of things. But I think it's kind of seen its life cycle. People are looking for something a little more authentic that doesn't feel so like come shop and we'll do this. And like it doesn't feel so like tied directly to sales.
Got it.
And I think when you give people like you do your retreats, right?
My workshops.
Yeah,
Yep.
your workshops. That's an authentic reason for people to get together because you're offering information or a lesson or experiences, whatever it is. And there's an authenticity in that doesn't feel like, well, just come and shop. And oh, by the way, we'll give some money to this charity, right? Like it feels super authentic. And I think that's the defining thing. It's that it's a real, like, I want to give you this and we'd love for you to come, which is what you do when you host a party at your house.
Right.
Right?
Right.
There's
Yeah,
something
that's true.
authentic about that. And I think that's what people are looking for because we lost it for so long, right?
That's a really interesting
sense
perspective.
of community. Mm-hmm.
That is. I guess as I'm thinking of the everything we do, the magazine and the workshops we've got coming up, we spend so much time curating, right? It's like, how can we create something that would just give people this experience, this whatever, where they can just go to Mars for a few hours and refresh and all of that stuff. Yeah.
And I think, look, there are two, like some people are super data driven and they're going to look at the numbers and they're in business with that data mindset, which is amazing. You need that mindset on some level. And they're going to always pass the bar on success or failure based on, okay, I closed the door. Where do we stand? Right? They're going to look at the data. But there's a whole other mindset of, okay, I closed my door. What's the outcome? Am I going to get clients in a month, 3 months? Like, what's my long-term goal out of this? Who did I connect with? Who did I meet? Like, what's my networking that's going to come out of this? And I think those are two very different perspectives of an event. And I don't know that there's right or wrong. Like, obviously, certain
you
goals,
need both.
you
Actually,
need both.
you do need both.
And I think you need both heads in the game. But sometimes I think the longer vision, the more lifestyle-driven kind of curation tends to get lost in the data because it takes longer. It takes a broader vision. It takes a longer view. And not everyone has the time for that. And that's where it gets, I think, tricky for people. So, I think all of us that are in business are struggling with that balance. Like, you got to have the money in your books, right? But you also need to be having that long-term vision for who you are, who you want to connect with, what your mission is.
Exactly. It's like what gets you up in the morning?
Right. What's your mission? And it literally can't be to fold sweaters, right? Or sell a lipstick or, I don't know. It literally cannot be a satisfying thing if that's your baseline, right? And I think most small business owners have some sort of passion behind what they're doing. And I think sometimes it's just letting that show. And I think that's what this event did, is let everyone kind of fly that flag and be like, see, this is what we do.
This is what we do. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So talking about what we do.
Yeah.
So what's coming up for fall and winter and
fashion and stuff and makeup.
And I mean, so tell me about the eyelashes. I mean, everybody's got eyelashes.
So the eyelashes eyebrow thing, I think, is starting to kind of level out because I think they're so readily available and so easily attainable. But I think people don't realize, like I don't know, you can kind of tell that I have them on. I don't know. But they don't
I
have
mean,
to.
they are beautiful.
You don't have
and
to
yours
look,
aren't like the
right.
Some of them are just like
You
wow.
don't have to look like you have caterpillars sitting on your eyelashes. And I do them in the summer a lot of times because I like to not wear a lot of makeup and I'm super lazy. So I focus on my skincare and then I have lashes. So it feels like, oh, I just put on some mascara and ran out the door. And mine are very kind of wispy and thin and just, it gives them a little length and a little darkness. So I think that's all settling down a little bit and people are really settling into natural beauty and getting back into color. Because obviously lipstick, we couldn't wear it for a long time under masking. And skincare became big during the pandemic because we could all sit at home and give ourselves a hour facial in the luxury of our home. But now I think people are realizing like, oh yeah, there's a reason there are professionals for this. And they want to take care of their skin and they want their skin to glow and shine through. And they only do the big makeup looks when they're going out, right? So they get to be both women. They get to be natural girly and they get to be glam girly and they just get to choose when that is. And that's super fun. They get to have kind of the whole arsenal, which is a really fun place to be. So I think it's settling down. I mean, we're seeing, obviously, in the fall, you always see the bold colors, the golds, the oranges, like the, red lipsticks, the, really rosy cheeks. You start to see a lot of that, which is fun. I love that. And then obviously great skincare and taking really good care of your skin. And this is the time to flip your skincare just like you do your wardrobe. So if you are flipping from your linens and your cottons to your wools and your cashmeres and things like that and tweeds, then you need to do that for your skincare. You need to go from your summer skincare. You need to get some good exfoliation in, go get a facial, get your skin taken care of, and then, move into stuff that's a little richer, that's going to give you a little more barrier protection. That's going to, really protect and moisturize your skin. Yeah.
So I got brushes from you.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of lusting after them for a while. And oh my gosh.
They're so beautiful.
They are so beautiful. And I feel it's like such a little wonder to use my brushes.
Yes.
It just changed everything.
It should I know people's kind of make fun of the beauty industry in the sense of you're paying so much for packaging or you're, what are you paying for? Well, part of it is the wonder of it, right?
Right.
The fact that we can have these things, right? And they're beautiful and we get to have a beautiful thing. Like you don't have to just scoop it out of a glass jar. Like you just pulled it off the shelf at Costco. Like that's not fun. You want to have it be beautiful. You want it to give you an experience.
Well, we like to say, life is full of wonders, right? And so if you can build those little things into your day, 100 of them into your day.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's so doable, but that's another little thing so that the products that you use can become an experience.
Yeah, and you don't need a ton.
No.
Especially if you curate the experience. It's like having a really good cup of coffee. You don't need 10.
Right. But that one cup is magic if it's a good cup.
Yeah. If it's a good cup of coffee and maybe you whisk the milk that you put in or you heat it up or you, add a seasoning, whatever it is, you put the espresso pot on a stove. I don't know. Everyone has their rituals.
Right.
And it feels so satisfying. Or in the afternoon, you have a little bit of tea with a cookie or I don't know. There was this place in New York City. It was around the corner from my office. And every day, they would bake off maybe 2 dozen chocolate chip cookies. That was it at this coffee shop. If you didn't get there at that time, there were no chocolate chip cookies for you. And I couldn't go every day. And clearly I didn't need to go every day. Let's just call a spade a spade. But they had really good coffee. They were literally the size of a podcasting booth. They were tiny, teeny, teeny, tiny. And they would have a line out the door at 2 in the afternoon. And they would bake off these cookies. And you would be so excited if you got this warm chocolate chip cookie. And every once in a while, I'd be having a really bad day. And I'd be like, I'm going to get in a coffee. And I'm going to get a cookie. And I don't care. That was like a treat, right?
Right.
And it just felt so good. And it was this moment out of my office, away from the stress.
And as we know, because we do so much research around everything that we publish, but that is all of. There's so many things that are releasing chemicals in your brain.
Yeah.
So the fact that you feel good is not an accident.
No.
It's very
It doesn't have to be unhealthy, not
No.
to like pander to the chocolate chip cookie, but like I remember there was also a place in the winter that would get set up they have those beautiful stalls in the winter in Brighton Park and wherever. And there was a stall that was Brodo, which is a broth place from a famous chef. And sometimes I'd go there and I'd be like, I'm just going to get a cup of like really good bone broth to sip on at like 4 p.m. And it would be so like, I don't know, like it just filled your mouth with flavor and you just thought like it felt comforting.
Right.
Right? Because there was so much intention in that bone broth because the way they have to make a broth, right is so labor intensive and a labor of love. And so I would do that too. So it doesn't even have to be an unhealthy thing, like a cookie, which, whatever. Some people can't do that. But it can be a really healthy thing. And I think that's where beauty comes into it. Like treat yourself to the facial. Literally, treat yourself. Treat yourself to the beautiful brushes. Treat yourself to that color lipstick that you might only wear once a month. It's okay.
And I do have some beautiful lipsticks, right? And I actually meant to put one on for this particular
I don't
celebration.
know if mine's still even on.
Yeah, but just even having it in my purse, when I see it in my bag, it just makes me happy.
Yeah,
it's
the option of it.
Those are the things, and those are the things we say that are so important to build into your day. Like you said, you don't have to use it, but just seeing it is like, oh, I could.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's not an expensive thing, right? Those are all very like inexpensive little treats that you can do for yourself. It's not a car, it's not a trip to Fiji. It's something that's very like attainable. And then if you partner it into, and by the way, it's because Sally Lou Who recommended it to me at the small business where I go, right?
Right.
I saw it on her Instagram. I saw it on like my friend and I went down and I got it. Like, I beg people, stop asking someone, what is that? And then getting on Amazon and ordering it. Take the time, walk downtown, go to the store that they bought it from, or go to the shop online that they bought it from. Like, take the time to do that because it makes a world of difference to those businesses.
For everything.
For everything.
You feel, and then I'm guilty of Amazon.
Yeah,
right?
All of us.
But the feeling is it's just such a different feeling.
Yeah, it is. And we're all guilty of the click, like, oh, where'd you get that? Oh, cool. And you pull it up on Amazon. First thing you do is like go looking for it on Amazon. And there's something super convenient about that for sure. And it's instant gratification. It'll be to you tomorrow. But honestly, most small businesses hop on their Instagram, send them a message, shop their Instagram, shop their website, send them a DM and say like, hey, like, do you have this? And they'll help you. They really will. That's what they're there to do. And they will appreciate that business so much. And it's that human connection. Again, back to the event. Why does everyone want to be in Stars Hollow? Because it's all about the people. The quirky, the good, the bad, the silly. She's walking around town with her coffee all the time. Like, it just feels fun.
Right. And the other thing that I liked about it, just with what I watched, is they were having confrontations all the time. People didn't agree with each other.
No.
Right? And they were like, but they still had a respect and a love, and they got along. Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, I don't like what you're saying, but I still love you. Right?
For sure.
And they wouldn't even maybe say it, but you could just tell, and that's the way life should be.
Yeah. And I think that's why it resonated in that moment because, at a time when everything feels so polarized, right?
Right.
Everything feels like a big choice or a big decision and, people can't talk freely with each other about things because they're worried that it's going to blow up into something. this wasn't that.
No, it wasn't. It was the opposite of that.
The opposite of that. Whatever the opposite of that is, it was the opposite of that. And that's what became so great. And that's why I say, go visit these shops. And if it isn't great the first time, maybe it will be the second time or the third time. We all have to hire young women that I have to get trained up. And, sometimes I wonder, did somebody come in and need something and they didn't have the answer, right? Right there. And, there's a patience and a kindness for it that goes beyond hey, I need to fundraise for my kids' thing. Do you want to donate? Right? Come on in, shop with us, spend time with us. We would be happy to support you. Come spend some time with us. Yeah.
So, well, on that happy note, I just am so grateful to you and to the whole thing.
Yeah, it was super fun.
The event, but also your store and your commitment to small business.
Thank you.
No, it's a really big deal.
It
is a really big deal because it's not easy running a business.
It isn't.
Right?
And so many things people don't think about with it that, we all struggle with every day, trying to make right decisions. I mean, we do in our lives too. So, we're all in the same boat, right?
We're all in the same boat. So, oh my gosh. On that happy note, I just want to thank you to Kathleen London of London Beauty, and we'll have all of her contact information in the show notes, and to remind you to check out goodfatlife.com, a brand new issue, lots of really cool stuff going on, and our 200th, we're going to celebrate the 200th podcast all month. And, it just kind of blew by me. But then I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of a really big deal.
It's a huge deal. Congratulations. Really amazing.
We've just met so many amazing people. And that's kind of what we're here for, is to connect.
Yeah.
To
amazing.
do that. So on that, like I said, happy note, go out and live your good fat life.